Welcome back to the final masterclass of the day. We are grateful to the forum's social partner, Samruk Kazina Trust Social Development Foundation, for supporting these masterclasses. So the final masterclass is going to be presented by Olga Sharatuta. She is executive head of RedMe and intellectual volunteer in Russia, and is a trendsetter in social and cause marketing in Russia, Europe, and Asia. In 2018, she conceived the idea for RedMe Agency, Russia's first cause marketing agency. The agency is part of the RCG group of companies where Olga has spent more than 7 years devoted to business development. RedMe's mission is based on Olga's personal mission to make society more socially adapted and healthy through win-win solutions for business and non-profit organizations. Please join me in welcoming Olga to deliver this masterclass on social marketing. Over to you, Olga.
Thank you. Well,
good afternoon. We are coming to the end to today's itinerary, and before talking about material I have prepared for you, my proposal is for all those physically present in the auditorium and in the online regime, please stand up and work your muscles a little bit by elevating your hand, because we're all tired, we've been inert. So it's time to pump ourselves up a little bit, and we need some more positive thinking. Socially oriented marketing or social marketing, that is the sphere of not my only interest, by my professional development of activity, has been so for many years. When I was preparing my today's report, I was based on the common agenda coming from non-profit organizations in Russia and Russia's close neighbors, in which countries I work as an intellectual volunteer. I share my experience, my market experience. So how an NGO may succeed in the epoch of limitless information bars, because our objective is not only to stand out in that massive stream generated by various mass media, but also among the noise generated by people, by commercial entities. So this is quite a challenge, not just to stand out and draw people's attention, but make your communication that you apply towards your target audience maximum effective. So today we will be discussing how to differentiate the social marketing from socially oriented marketing, effective communication from non-effective communication. So whenever partners are looking for something positive, that already in itself means that the action will be positive and effective. The mission of my speech is as follows. I want everybody who listens to my lecture analyze his and her own activity, regardless whether a commercial or non-commercial organization you are. You can analyze yourselves. You can analyze how effective your partnerships or your personal relationships are in the sphere of corporate responsibility, social responsibility, in the sphere of promotion of resolutions for various social problems. So off we go. Nothing is more inspiring than the history based on real events. I personally, in my life, my whole career development was dedicated to stories that inspire myself, stories I share to social entrepreneurs and NGOs. So I want to bring those stories into the public broad light. I want those stories to change attitudes to certain social problems. I want those stories to encourage us to collectively resolve our problems, the reasons for our problems, the underlying ones, but not the exterior ones. So today's topic today's topic of my discussion: how often did you have to choose between several feature films to watch for tonight? So most often when we have such a problem, we start looking into rating platforms. In those platforms, the selection is based upon the opinions of millions and millions of viewers. There you can see what particular feature film is popular, which particular feature film has caused the most active discussions, which feature film has suffered from the maximum of criticism, etc., etc. So there you can have a list of recommendations coming from your friends, acquaintances, people you do not know, people who are ascertained cinematographic experts. In any case, the absolute majority of people encounter such a problem as the selection of the content based on the selection made by someone else. And realistically, today, some space budgets, colossal budgets, are directed by the content creators into the catching of our attention, into the promotion of their content among participants of the cyberspace. So how do NGOs who are in continuous condition of limited resources do it the way so that their content stand out and so that their content attracts the attention from the desired audience? Very often creators of various projects say, we want to be written about, we want to be referred to in the leading mass media, we want our projects to be discussed by broader and broader masses of audience. However, I can state with great confidence, and because I have contacts with creators of the content, and because we've been creating a whole range of various projects, tell it from me, the informational noise does not always guarantee the desired effect. So what are the mistakes that we can make in the course of promotion of our products? What can we do to reduce such cases? Because we want to have more benchmarkings in the market. We want those benchmarkings to be known to the city, to the region. We want them to be known at the global level. So when we unpack a certain project, when we discuss it at international level, when we discuss the instruments and resources, we want to demonstrate the whole beauty and grace behind it. So how do we discuss effectivity if it has not been measured by the project stakeholders, or the partners did not agree what particular indicators shall be measured to assess the effectivity of the project? So effectivity in the principle shows the magnitude of the project, the scale of the project. And if we are talking about collaboration between media partners and, for example, news agencies, how do we make sure that our targets, individual targets, are clear to each other and are in good accord? This is something we will discuss today as well. So when I was beginning my professional activity, my question was how to properly implement social projects. And because scope of my activity is closely associated with the marketing, I was talking about all projects, public projects, projects promoted in the market, projects discussed by broad masses of audiences. So when we design these kind of projects, we came to certain conclusion. Not always do all project stakeholders think how the project works for the achievement of the end goal. For example, if you are a civil activist or an NGO, you must think how your actions will encourage society to change itself. Maybe you are drawing attention of the society to a certain problem. So how will you resolve that problem? What will the social effect be like? Let's pay attention to this slide of mine. The last element of that arrow is the end result. This is change, positive change. What kind of change in the society has taken place after you had your project implemented? And that is a long-term result. In many instances, social effect is not subject to proper calculation and assessment. Maybe those projects shall be known far later. How does that project change the behavior, the attitude, the other elements of life of people who benefit from that project? How it impacts environmental activities? So how have our standing, positioning, attitudes, and behaviors changed in regards to certain problematics? So, and this is everything. This is the things that we compare to initial results, and those are not only marketing indicators. Social results find expression in quality changes, quality tectonic shifts in the problems you're working on. The ultimate results are the ones that can be quantified in the course of project implementation. The most popular example is the number of publications in mass media, the number of comments left by followers in regards to certain topics, the number of shares, the number of votes and up-likes, the quantity of various activities we performed within the framework of a certain project. So it might be so that in the course of your activities, your projects, you've been acting in collaboration, for example, business and an NGO, a joint task, some joint activity, joint resources mobilized from two parallel and different worlds. So how they were brought together and what the project was like in the result of that unification. And the resources, what we possess, what we have on hand. Resources are not always money. This is our expertise. This is our various platforms for intellectual activity, the products we may possess, the technologies we may design. So every time you think about implementation or about the analysis of the effectivity of your activities, please pay attention to that chain and answer one question. Did we realistically, in the outcome of our precious project, come to those social effects and results that we wanted to achieve? My experience shows that as of today, the share of organizations that think about that before the project implementation, there's not a great number of such companies. There are not too many companies who realistically assess themselves before and after. So this is today's reality, and I wanted to warn you against this kind of approach. Please think about necessity to focus the effects from the very beginning. This is business case number 1 for your attention. Sound, please. I do not understand. Guys, today we have a new individual in our group. Her name is Masha. I am 19. My dream is to become an actress one day. If it doesn't work, that's okay. I like it here. And I have some good news for you. We've been invited to perform in the city of Geneva. who will stage a play in the city of Geneva. I'm anxious, I'm worried, I am afraid. Masha, please do it for me. Just take the first step.
Все началось разваливаться на глазах.
So this has been a small teaser. It's a documentary, a romantic comedy that was created by a team, by our team, with the support from the partners that were indicated on the slide. So today we have this trend. More and more social problems are being disclosed in mass media by means of documentary films, particularly in Russia. More and more activists are trying to encourage the audience to change their attitudes to people with various special conditions, people who require some special attention. And those are not necessarily people whom you encounter every day or on day-to-day basis, so you do not know about their problematics. The problems they experience caused by low inclusivity of our society, by poor acceptance of such people by other members of the society. So these kind of communicational solutions, these kind of media products help to change the attitude of the society. So when the producers of this project told me that more than 6 million individuals watched the video and that all those who saw the movie changed their attitudes to people with the Down syndrome, that was a great achievement. You know, on this video you can see that people with that disease, they can fall in love, they can show all sorts of various emotions. So by means of these kind of projects, we can quite effectively interact with broader masses of the audience, and I'm happy that today we see more and more projects of the kind. We must strive to have the social effect by means of communications themselves. If we remember the chain, then we will say that the social effect is the result of the core activity of a certain entity. So how is the general activity changing the situation in the society? But the word communication, the project that we are creating, communication itself can cause the change in the attitude. Communication can cause the tectonic shift in social attitudes. That's why when we design certain solutions or certain projects, our first question is, what is the verbal exterior supposed to be? What is the key verbal message we want to send to the exterior world, to the target audience? How are we promoting the cardinal thought in our video? And let us take a look at another case. But before putting it on, I would like to answer the question I am asking myself when I was creating the first Russian socially oriented marketing agency. So my question is it really so that the prism of the analysis, that the prism of the assessment of effectivity of the project, is it universal, or are there any exceptions or exclusions? Maybe not necessarily always do we have to resort to this kind of technology. We have analyzed thousands of cases, Russian ones, global ones, international ones, the projects that we've been unwinding together in partnerships with other parties, and the question is totally yes. The more we look into the projects that did not bring the necessary changes, when we analyze that cases, we come to conclusion that if in the first stage, when they were only discussing and identifying the problematics, as well as the methodologies for the implementation. So if only the initiators of those projects had the clear understanding of what they wanted to achieve, then they would have a totally different result and outcome. One of the projects it's a Russian project, a Russian media project. It was launched together with Greenpeace. It was called Farewell to Plastic Waste. There you can see a QR code. You can browse through the website, and you can at present click on the QR code and find the web resource with the information about the project. You will see how graciously, how professionally the information is presented in that resource. This is a win-win kind of example. This is a partnership between a media partner and an NGO, each party doing its own individual contribution in which it is an expert. An NGO as the supplier of the expertise, supplier of knowledge, supplier of statistical data that journalists love so much and mass media love so much, and because of the access to broader masses of the audience and population, because of the knowledge and professionalism they have accumulated in the company, they managed to create a very laconic, very gracious example of communication, which is effective in itself and has a social effect already. It is more.
It is very effective to use the media to increase the level of awareness and to manage the relations with the audience. Many young representatives of NGOs often come to us and they tell us, we want to launch a campaign all over Moscow and we want to ask the audience for some donations. And certainly fundraising expectations are quite logical for a social project. And we are looking into every specific brief, but as a communication specialists, we are sure that setting a fundraising goal for a project that has zero recognition as a brand, as a project, or to which the audience has a lot of stereotypes and barriers and prevent the audience from going deeper into supporting it, from participating in the projects of an NGO. We certainly believe that there should be some preliminary steps that they need to go through. So when NGOs come to us saying that they just want a media campaign to earn the attention of the audience and to urge them to donate, and when our analysis shows that this NGO has actually low recognition, we always are quite frank with them, saying that creating a project with a media partner will probably bring them more in terms of attitude change and brand recognition. Let us look at another example. This is also a foundation that I respect a lot. They did a social movie on blind and deaf person being a superhero. Let's look at the video. When the blind and deaf person is responsible for everything. Is he also a startupper? No, he's actually deaf and blind. There was 500,000 views of interactive version of the video, over 100 publications in Kinopoisk and Vakruk.tv. Famous celebrity stars, two blind and deaf actors. A TV series, this is a social drama and a superhero movie, a new step in inclusive movies. TV shows are very popular among young people, and we wanted to show in a simple language that there are people who are deaf and blind, but they could have their superpowers. According to the plot, these superhero saves from the techno-zombies, which affect the hearing and sight of people, but Luca only uses gadgets, so he cannot be reprogrammed, and plus he is a master of this white cane. For us, it is very important to combine the entertainment from watching a movie and a story about people, blind and deaf people. And the premiere was done in 2020. Celebrities, mass media, people with hearing and sight impairments all were interested in this movie, and especially the interactive version. On each stage of the movie, a person can make a choice, and the fate of humanity and the characters will depend on it. For the solutions, you can see some cards that talk about people with hearing and sight impairment. So ask yourselves whether he's just a regular person or a superhero next time you see a person with impairment. We could say that it's the future, or maybe even the present is in the hands of these media solutions and creative outlook at people with disabilities. When it's not about pitying them, but it's about creating a unique content that will grab the attention of the audience. So going back to the question that I asked on one of the first slides, when we are asking ourselves what kind of movie we want to see at night, then these types of projects become competitive content. Especially, I'd like to emphasize one point in relation to that specific project. It's the way the foundation, together with partners, approached creation of this movie. This was the first interactive movie in Russia, and it was the first movie about people with hearing and sight impairment. And through these unreal world, through this unusual plot, it presents the main character. And when we are asking NGOs about what kind of effects they want to achieve and how they will gauge the effectiveness of a project, certainly they mention mass media articles. And 90% of the mass media who wrote articles about this movie weren't socially oriented media, and that implies that they were able to expand the audience and to improve recognition for the fund. This is also about the effects, like the number of views of this video, a number of people who have chosen to watch the movie, and also the fundraising effects. Parts of the audience probably now knows more about the topic through the immersion, and they were able to get to even a higher level and participate. They can donate money for the cause. So one of the ways to watch this project is you can use this link or a QR code, get to an interactive version of the movie, and you can see for yourselves how the creators of that of the project were able to tell us more about these hearing and sight impairments, and those prompts that you see throughout the movie, they don't distract us from the movie, they don't irritate us, but they're rather well integrated into the main plot of the movie. Certainly, these types of projects are something I want to talk about and I want to demonstrate, and certainly it would be great to have more projects like that. Many in the audience might think that it's too early for us to do so, it's too expensive, otherwise it's great. I agree with you to some extent. Certainly creation of media projects, large media projects, it requires big budgets, but if we start thinking about the goal that we have, so speaking specifically about this case, the topic of this sight and hearing impairments and improving the recognition of the fund was one of the most important objectives. So certainly when the audience understands the challenge, understands the topic and some small details, then the organization has greater chances of actually getting support from this audience, getting volunteers, getting people who are willing to donate money. So don't limit yourselves just thinking that it's too expensive. There are various ways to do that. There are grants, there is funding, there are partners who could help you in that. They might be interested in some kind of an experiment. So if you understand that in your case, this movie will actually help in solving your problem, and if you have resources to do it, then you can, and I actually urge you to look into the projects that are available on international market in Russia, contact the organizers and start moving in that direction. By the way, speaking about the partners, when we are talking about large efficient companies or when we are talking about large campaigns, the question is, can we actually do it? Because we cannot really afford the whole team and we cannot accumulate the required expertise in the organization. Then it's all about partners, those who specialize in certain activities that we need. In our practice, in the years of developing social environmental projects, I learned to appreciate the win-win instrument. This is a tool that allows us to identify the level of interest and real needs and real expectations of our partners, and it helps us in finding these commonalities and points of interest and finding a win-win solution. The secret is quite easy. You need to look into real needs, real goals, and real reasons that motivate people, that inspire your partners, inspire your dream partners. And once you do that, you can start talking about yourselves. So maybe once you learn about the interests and objectives of your partners, you will be able to adjust your own objectives. There are many examples in the market. When we see the NGOs or social entrepreneurs talking too much about themselves, coming with the specialists with the ready solutions, although they are coming to the experts, and they come to the experts and they say, we want a movie like that, with a plot like that, with the characters like that, just do it for us. But they will spend years looking for partners who are ready to implement these projects, or they become disappointed by the results if they collaborate in a way where only their ideas are implemented. I think it is better to come with an objective to a partner, saying that this is our goal, this is what we want to achieve, but we are coming to you as experts to find solutions. So it's your choice. It's up to you to choose your position, but I'm sure as a person who studied theory, as a practitioner, I'm sure that when we are interested in real objectives and motivations of our partners first, and only then start talking about ourselves, then we will find this win-win solution. And let's look at another case.
On May 28, 2018, she was abducted in Bishkek, the Kyrgyz capital, by Mars Bedoshev, and later stabbed to death by her captor. This happened in Kyrgyzstan, where young women still risk being kidnapped and then forcibly married. This is called Allah Kachu, a tradition, say some, but in fact a crime. In 2018, 15,000 brides were kidnapped in Kyrgyzstan, but only 28 cases made it to the court. Police officers, often out of respect for a venerable tradition, refuse to file victims' reports. And in general, the subject is taboo. During Badashev's trial, Club, an online news portal, decided to break the silence and started the Kasha Go campaign. A Kasha Go is a white curtain that the kidnapper's family hang in his house. According to tradition, for the bride, passing under the Kasha Go means giving her consent to marriage. If she resists, she will often be raped. We collected the rejected reports of the Olga victims and printed them on Kasha Go's.
Мне запихали в машину, будто эскорт. Он постоянно меня
They got me into a car, and he was beating me, and his mother actually advised him to do so. He raped me, and in 3 days there was the religious marriage ceremony performed.
Hundreds of them appeared in the Kyrgyz capital Bishkek, and the exact spots where the abductions took place.
Оказалось, что это молодой человек.
The online videos portray Olga victims hidden behind the Kasha Go's, reading their rejected reports aloud. The campaign was a shock, as indignant comments multiplied in social networks. The media in Kyrgyzstan, then in other countries, joined the conversation. It all gave rise to an unprecedented wave of protest that ultimately forced the Kyrgyz Prime Minister to demand drastic measures against bride kidnapping.
So this white sheet that the bride must go under when they agree to get married, in itself, this sheet became this media tool which the girls used to demonstrate their personal stories of violence. And this problem still exists in the 21st century in Kyrgyzstan. This is bride kidnapping, and it's no longer just a joke or a tradition when both parties actually agree beforehand, but unfortunately that is still a tradition which leads to many broken people, and not only the police doesn't register these cases, but the courts actually only see a few of these cases. And this independent media portal Club, together with the creative agency, came up with a solution where they were actually using this white sheet as a means of communication. And this is a sensitive topic, this is a taboo topic, and there is a very controversial reaction to this topic in the local community, and many studies still demonstrate the attitudes of people towards this tradition. Men actually have a different attitude to it. So I've demonstrated this project to draw your attention to the fact that sometimes we are looking for media solutions, and actually when we are looking for these solutions, we often forget that a symbol, an element related to the issue could actually become the means of communication. And this was a great example of collaboration between the agency and the mass media. And this became a really beautiful and very popular campaign. In my activities, I work not only on social or environmental projects, but I also take an active part in judging various Russian and international marketing awards. And I'm able to see various solutions used by various organizations in the market. And when I see that by using creative solutions, by using different approaches, by using simple means of drawing attention of the society to a certain issue, I'm always impressed with the projects like that, with the campaigns like that. And I think that it's important to share those ideas, to get inspired by those ideas, so that these projects are even more useful. Although it might seem like a truism on the slides, I am not opening your eyes to anything new, but in social projects, it's not always about being very original and coming up with something that hasn't been done before. Sometimes the solution, an effective solution, could be lying on the surface. It might not be original. Maybe some country or some other organization has already used it. But by rethinking it by yourselves or with the help of professionals, you could actually come up with different results. And I always urge those who work on these projects to talk to experienced professionals who know communication well, but not just any professional, but those professionals who already have experience in interacting with NGOs, with social challenges and issues, with environmental issues, because the goal that these projects have is to actually change the lives, the fates of people, to change the social norm, or to change the environmental situation on the planet. And the cost of the mistake is not only the risks that the reputation risks that the partners carry if they face a backlash from the community when you choose an incorrect solution, but also there is an additional cost of error. Every dollar or every whichever monetary unit you use, you spend for these projects, it can be wasted, basically, and which is even worse, it could create a toxic atmosphere. So don't shy away from studying your partner's experience. Spend time looking for partners who have a lot of experience with these projects, and in this way you will prevent many errors. And let us look at another video.
It is not important what size your house will be. Important is what kind of place it will occupy in your life. STS love. So a certain time ago, NGOs created a video clip dedicated to YouTube promotion, and they would receive refusals from YouTube to place their video clips on the YouTube, and they couldn't understand why it was happening. And the answer was that the content was not compliant to numerous technical requirements, audiovisual requirements, time requirements, requirements imposed on the message to be conveyed to the audience. Basically, YouTube told them that no, we cannot place your video on our resource. So, together with the National Media Group and STS, the producer generated a number of video clips integrating media persons, integrating animals, pets, and that helped to improve the awareness of people in the sphere of protection of animals. So if you have a task to involve a television channel, or you do not understand why certain platforms are rejecting your video clips, if you want to learn why it happens, My message to you is to seek clarification, to demand explanation, to learn more about expectation of television companies and YouTube platform. Those requirements they impose on the incoming video material, and in the course of such relationships, you can create and promote your video content that would be compliant, basically. So in pursuit to noise around your company, around your initiative, very often you disseminate the information about your project, but then you do not understand why you face rejections, why nobody is writing about you. Basically, your informational trigger might be not catching at all, not topical at all from the standpoint of the message that is contained in your product. So my appeal to you is, when you create an informational trigger, if you want to make it into the informational agenda of mass media, if you want to be effectively present in cyberspace, please always pay attention to the general informational agenda in the market and try to compare how compliant your project is to present market requirements. Do you compare your project against the products created by your competitors and peers in the market? And there are always chances for synergy, for attraction of your rivals, some potential partners with whom you can be working on some similar topics. So this is when you can unite together with several companies, knowing that your target and mission are common. And that will bring greater possibility that your message will be heard properly. Here's another video.
Здесь всем на тебя плевать.
Nobody cares about you here. Out in the streets, you ain't got nothing. You ain't got no name. The street can pulverize you in pieces. And then you lose the last hope out in the streets. And it is impossible to make it back into the normal world from out in the streets. Learn how you can help the homeless people. How can we help homeless people? Help people to make it out of the streets. Society has very complicated attitude to people who do not have homes of their own. This is your own guilt. You brought yourself to this kind of condition. You're an alcoholic. You're a loser. So we know the barriers. We know all the mistrust shown by society to this particular category of people, and this artistic solution that we chose for this video clip, why I like it, it's very seamless, it's very refined, very sophisticated communication. The message is the trust. The trust. You see, we have homeless people in the video, and the main thought there is that those are homeless people. They deserve trust. Please pay attention, because in virtue, you could be there. Any random person may find itself out in the streets without a hope. So this is, and for that, the producers of the video clip attracted some celebrities. So when such a message comes from a celebrity, the effect is totally different. And take a look at the backgrounds, rainy weather, gloomy atmosphere. all those artistic instruments help to create the proper atmosphere. And when you work with celebrities, when you want to work with celebrities, you must at all times analyze the attitudes shown by the audiences to those celebrities. And not always the presence of a celebrity in your project can be of the positive effect. This is when you have to be very considerate. This is when you have to explore the history of the personal branding. You're going to have to analyze whether a celebrity have had some scandalous situations, etc., etc. This is when you might want to contract some specializing agencies that will do the job for you. So, how can you attract a team of professionals specializing in public communications? If you have listened carefully to my lecture, you may already have certain hints what particular instruments I will offer that you resort to create a win-win situation. That is, for example, exploring the interests of your partners. Sometimes we can encounter experienced partners with a reputation, and we want to work with that partner. We want that partner to select it. Or we already have a ready thought, and we need technical performers, not even partners, and a whole range of other options for mutual relationships. So there are various types of partnerships for promotion of your product. That can be intellectual volunteering, that can be cooperation with NGOs, that can be purely commercial cooperation. When you have your own resources, you can have some hybrid forms of partnership. You may, for example, contribute a part of the funds, and another part of the funds shall be contributed by someone else. And this is how you can create mutual interests and bring those interests together. So this is the list of interests that motivate people to cooperate with each other in the international market. This is the list you have on slide, but I have to make a small remark. I'm not talking about narrow profile agencies that direct their whole activity into certain types of projects. For example, agency like RedMe. Agency, those are not the partners that will be allocating commercial budgets for the implementation of your project. Sometimes agencies may become sponsors for your project. Such cases do exist, but far more effective and far more popular model is when the problem that you work on is packed into a creative decision and calibrated under the mission of commercial companies, those who have their own targets in a joint activity. So how do you attract commercial brands to the projects you want to implement? Another video, please. We ask children to tell about the most important person in their life. The fund helps people with intellectual problems to find friends. From each pack of lace, a certain sum is remitted to our endowment. And another video I want to show to you. I think you will recognize it, particularly because this is Kazakhstan. Smile, the world is wonderful. Now let's listen to some instrumental music. You can hear the voice of the ocean, but there are people who do not hear. 430 million people with hearing impairments. What is your name? My name is Nikita. My name is Inkar. My name is Rustem. What is the sound you want to hear? First of all, I want to visit the cinema and enjoy the sound. My dream is to listen to music. My dream is to hear the noise of the water and the singing of the birds. Together we can implement their dreams and make them smile. 5 tenges from each pack of lace shall be sent to a charity endowment. Share your smile together with lace. So these 2 videos demonstrate how we created a cooperation between NGOs and business companies, how Pepsi and Lay's communicate with their audience about such important topics. And the thing is that while discussing those topics, they are in pursuit of their own commercial missions and very sophisticated way of combining the both. And in addition to communications, in addition to relations with the audience, we see the implementation of a new business model, which is the cooperation between NGOs and commercial companies. And the message is quite clear. Each 5 tenges paid for a pack of lace shall go to a charity endowment. So this is NGOs have opportunity to plan their actions because they know their budgets, they know their constraints. Lace gives them the money. So this is the classical example of socially oriented marketing, cost-related marketing, as we call it in certain situations. So, in other words, socially oriented marketing. What makes it different from the social marketing? Socially oriented marketing is a means of cooperation between business companies and NGOs. This is when a commercial brand engages social problem, or a social problem starts engaging and involving a commercial company. A commercial brand does not only pay money for the whole media campaign, does not only it pay for all expenditures and costs incurred, but it also directs a part of its revenues to help people with special demands and needs. So, if your objective is to analyze the effectivity of your relations with the business, if you want to use the win-win instrument and you have a task to find out what motivates the businesses to take part in your projects, then take it from me. It has been trialed in years. Basically, you can ask direct questions to business people. Where are your interests located? Where are your business interests? You are not just asking for money only. You are asking the commercial company where its interests are, and then you offer that company your own options how to promote those interests. So, what is it? What kind of help is it that you may receive as an NGO from a business entity? Where can you direct that help? And I've already shown you 2 lists of benefits from cooperation between businesses and NGOs, and I've already said that the number of potential combinations and variations is unlimited. And I hope that the experience, the aggregate experience and everything that we've been discussing today, my personal experience, experience of my colleagues and my partners, shall be analyzed properly and shall help us identify the benefits for the win-win situation. And concluding my speech, talking about conclusions and reminding the chain for the creation of the social effect, remembering my own appeals to you to analyze your targets, your missions beforehand, to be very attentive to what your anticipations from the project implementation are. Please always strive to digitize all of your indicators, or at least identify the indicators you will use to measure the success of your project. And what is the success of your project is the transformation of the problematic, the transformation of the attitude to the problematic. So basically, when you digitize all of your steps, later you can analyze how you were developing that initiative, what kind of effect it caused, and what the potential consequences and implications will be. Maybe you will need some additional resources, some additional money. Some 3 years ago, certain types of cooperation could have been pretty much expensive, but today, in the cyberspace, there are so many various options for cooperation that you can save money. You can expedite all of your initiatives in the most expedient and prudent way. For example, the video I've shown to you about the love syndrome, the interaction, the video about people with the Down syndrome. Well, the thing is, they had a questionnaire that was distributed among students, and they knew how to measure the moods of the students by means of those questionnaires. So they used those questionnaires to make conclusions how the audience changed their attitudes to people with the Down syndrome after watching that video clip. And I think that was a very effective tool, and I shall always promote this kind of business behavior. But if you do not have such an analytical resource, then as a minimum you need to start thinking in that direction. Based on the information you have, based on the information already present in public domain, you can analyze your mission and your outcome. And the big question you might ask yourselves after the big presentation, and even if you don't ask myself this question now, I will ask myself this question now. The question is, all those projects that you are showing to us, those are big projects, those are big companies and big structures, and of course they have budgets of their own, they have professionals. What about us? We're young apprentices. We have experience, but we don't have extensive experience. So how do we get our forces together to launch new projects? How do we motivate ourselves? So for your attention, I'm offering this scale. This is my personal experience. This is the scale against which I evaluate the future of any project. I always make the analysis how a certain project may be created and implemented promptly or slowly. What is prompt, what is slowly? Let's agree first. Who has limitations? Who has time limitations? This is based on that I will impose deadlines on myself, etc., etc. So these three indicators, as a rule, allow us to analyze and understand why the collaboration didn't happen, or if it happened, why it wasn't effective the way we wanted it to be. Or is it at all the scope of activity that I want to concentrate my attention on? So this is how you learn what a strategic communication is. And you can keep that as an example for your future. And I think that based on that, you will pick up a comfortable development pace. But please remember, always have effectivity indicators you will assess and evaluate for you to know the condition of your company. You will know who benefits from your services. So this is it. This is what gives you confidence, more or less confidence in the sphere of communication. So I hereby extend gratitude to experts operating in the market. I respect those people for their vision, for their opinions. They helped me to prepare myself to today's presentation. Those are Maria Zalunina, Alexandra Babkina, and of course, Ludmila Zanhoeva, my former colleague, and Natalia Sokolova. I thank all of them, my dear colleagues. I thank you for sharing your time with me. So, dear listeners, this is it on my side. Thank you very much. Thank you for those who joined us in the online regime. And I'm ready to answer any of your questions. I thank you for the invitation, and may we have more effective, measurable, long-term collaborations between all sorts of partners, and may we have more out loud benchmarks in the world that we will joyfully demonstrate on activities like today. Thank you.